before I call the case, has Mr. Tays been served?
I don't believe so, Your Honor.
Okay. Are we having issues with that? I know we originally reset this to today because we hadn't had service. Can anyone speak to the efforts that have been made or what you're aware of?
He does have the paperwork. It has not been notarized.
Okay, so you provided him the waivers, but he didn't sign them or not? Okay.
And we have sent it to the clerk. We just don't have the return back. So we aren't sure if the constables made it out.
Have you been able to make contact with him, Ms. Stout?
I have, Your Honor. It was my understanding that he was going to come forward today.
Oh, okay.
Hold on, this may be him calling me. Can
Okay. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I pressed decline. Hold on one second. Let me call back.
All right.
But yes, Your Honor, I did have a chance to confer with him. I would say for about an hour yesterday.
Okay.
He's open to working services. I just assumed he was going to be here, so I didn't ask if I could make an appearance on his behalf. So I'm not going forward today. He was just a little bit confused. He was like, they said this was voluntary. And then I said I didn't want to do it. And then they said it's not really voluntary. He's like, and I'm just very confused. And he's a single father. Mom, unfortunately died. And so he is struggling with these 3 little kiddos, and he'll admit that. And he's like, they said I was going to get daycare. And I was like, well, yes, they'll give you protective daycare, but you have to do these services. And so he's wanting to do that. He was just real hesitant to do anything. He's like, I didn't understand what was going on. I know that Ms. Pearsall filed her report. He said that he did end up speaking to Ms. Pearsall, so I'm not sure when she filed that report. I know she's out of the country, but he has spoken to her at some point and said that she was not going to be able to come this week, but that she would be out there next week. So maybe a reset would be good too. So Ms. Pearsall
she can meet with.
With their children. He was just like, he's like, I didn't want to answer it because he's like, I didn't know what it was. And he, as the court is probably aware, he was in prison and then he's on parole. He's about to get off of parole. So he's just real hesitant of anything having to do with the courts or being served. He was like, should I just go ahead and accept the papers? And I said, if you're wanting to work services, then yes, go ahead and accept the papers, and that way we can get the ball rolling. That's kind of where he was. He said they were trying to serve his mother last night, but she didn't answer the door. So he is going to accept service. Ms. Pearsall is going to get a chance to meet with the children. He sent me pictures of the children. They look happy and okay.
Well, that's good. It looks like somebody's joining. It may be him. So let me see.
It looks like it might be him.
Right. Do we have Mr. Tays with us? It looks like.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm a little late.
No, that's all right. We're glad you're here. And we were talking about potentially resetting, but if you're here, we can move forward, and I'm glad that you are. So let me go ahead and call the case, and we'll get started. We are set today for a hearing involving court-ordered services, and the court will recognize that the department is present, represented today by Ms. Leslie Levi and joined by Ms. Brandy Combs and Mr. Ernesto Baca. And then in addition, we have Ms. Katie Padilla Stout here as the attorney appointed to represent the respondent father, Mr. Adrian Tays, who is also present. And we have Mr. Richard Saldivar here on behalf of Alana Pearsall, who was appointed as the attorney ad litem for the children in this case. And so, as I stated previously, this is a hearing involving court-ordered services and the request of the department to engage the family, Mr. Tays, and the children in services to help address any concerns that they have. And so let me just get statements and announcements from the parties. Before you joined us, Mr. Tays, Ms. Stout had indicated she had talked to you yesterday, and that you had had a nice conversation about what today was about and what is involved. And I believe there might be a potential for an agreement here. So let me ask Ms. Levi, do you want to just state for the record what specifically the department is requesting of Mr. Tays and his children?
Yes, Your Honor. I'll let Ms. Combs state the exact services though.
All right, well, let me go ahead and swear her in and you can potentially ask her that. So if you'll raise your right hand, Ms. Combs, do you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Levi, you may proceed.
Thank you. Ms. Combs, you heard the court's question regarding exactly what services the department is asking. Can you answer that for Mr. Tays in the court?
Yes, we will be requesting a parenting course since Mr. Tays has not been the primary caregiver for the children before. We will also be requesting a drug and alcohol assessment and any ongoing classes that they recommend, and then monthly drug testing.
Are you asking for any counseling for Mr. Tays or the kids given the recent loss?
Yes, ma'am. I would like to do at least an assessment with Mr. Tays and the oldest child to determine if they need any ongoing services past that.
Are you saying a psychological assessment or just a evaluation?
No, ma'am, it's psychological.
Okay. Your Honor, I believe that's all we're asking for at this time.
And just so that I'm clear, I think before Mr. Tays joined, there was the issue of daycare brought up as a potential need for the family. Is that something, Ms. Combs, that you recognize that there's a need for as well?
Yes, I've actually already put in the request for it.
Okay. So if the court were to order that, that would certainly help Mr. Tays engage in the services that you've just requested.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Ms. Stout, do you have questions for Ms. Combs about those services and that daycare issue?
Yes. What are the concerns about drug use in regards to my client?
Mr. Tays has already admitted that he's been using marijuana since he's been out and had the children.
Okay, so when marijuana is a substance that you're aware of that stays in your system for quite a bit of time?
In my awareness, it depends on the person.
But you would agree that it stays in your system longer than things like methamphetamines or?
It can, yes, ma'am.
Things like that. And so the department will be taking that into account when they drug test him?
Yes.
And so they'll use that as a baseline?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are you asking for specific classes in regards to domestic violence?
No, ma'am.
Okay, because that was in the affidavit, but I didn't hear you state it, so I just want to make sure that that just wasn't forgotten. Okay, and the department is on board with providing protective childcare.
Yes.
Okay, and are you aware of Mr. Tays has a vehicle to transport himself?
Yes.
Okay, and can you ask him whether or not he prefers for services to be online, if that makes it easier with 3 small children as a single parent?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
All right, Mr. Saldivar, any questions for Ms. Combs?
No questions, Judge.
All right. Ms. Levi, any additional witnesses from you?
No, Your Honor. The state would rest.
All right. Ms. Stout, do you have any witnesses to call? Would you like to call Mr. Tays?
Yes, I would, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Tays, can I get you to please unmute yourself, sir? And if you'll raise your right hand where I can see it. Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Ms. Stout, you may proceed.
Thank you. Mr. Tays, you're aware that the department is now not just asking you to work services, they are requiring you to work services, correct?
Yes, ma'am, correct.
Okay, and you understand the services that the department is asking for?
Yes.
Okay, and you understand that the department will provide daycare in order to help the children and to help you to be able to complete these services.
Yes, I understand.
And that will also help you to become gainfully employed.
Yes.
Okay, and you've actually given up working so that you can devote all of your time and attention to these 3 small children.
Yes.
Yes, and you're thankful for the help that the department is going to offer with the children.
Of course.
Okay, and so you will allow Ms. Pearsall, who you have spoken to come out and visit the children when she gets back.
Yes.
Okay, and the children right now are in your possession and are happy and healthy.
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful. No further questions.
All right, thank you, Ms. Stout. Ms. Levi or Mr. Saldivar, do you have any questions for Mr. Tays?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Saldivar, is there anything else you wanted to add on behalf of Ms. Pearsall today?
Judge, the report that I got from Ms. Pearsall, she hasn't seen the children. So if we can just get Dad to let Ms. Pearsall access to the children going forward, I think that's what she'd be asking for today.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad that we have given ourselves this opportunity for Mr. Tays and the children. I think what I've heard proposed today is reasonable and appropriate to help address the concerns of a potential abuse or neglect, but no demonstrated proof of that at this point. And the assistance that has been discussed, I think, is warranted for the sake of the children. So at this time, the court will adopt and approve the agreement for court-ordered services in this case, and will order that Mr. Adrian Tays Sr. engage in a parenting class and complete that class successfully, to submit to a drug and alcohol assessment and engage in any recommended services as a result of that assessment, and to submit to a psychological evaluation to determine if any ongoing counseling services are needed, and for a similar assessment to be offered to Adrian Jr. To determine if any counseling services are needed for him going forward as well. The court does order the department to provide protective daycare for the children to assist Mr. Tays in not only engaging in services, but in obtaining employment at this time, and to hopefully resolve these concerns successfully and help the department and this court get out of their lives. So that is the point of this, Mr. Tays. It's a short-term measure to try to just assist you. You've undergone a really horrible loss as a family, and my condolences to you for that. And everyone here is just hoping to help you through this difficult time, and to ensure you and the children are doing the best you can and are a functioning and healthy family unit. So I appreciate your willingness to engage in this process. We don't want to be involved in your lives one day longer than we need to. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So we are going to come back for a court-ordered services compliance hearing on April the 20th at 10:30. Do the parties prefer Zoom hearings going forward and for that setting?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, I don't hear an objection to that. So I will assume we have an agreement to pursue that hearing in a Zoom format. So we'll come back on April the 20th at 10:30 and via Zoom. Is there anything else that we need to address at this time?
No, Your Honor, I just wanted to say that I'm really glad to be working with Mr. Tays. I think that he's taking this seriously and just didn't quite understand. And he also didn't have a vehicle to make it to services prior. So he now has a vehicle, and I think with the daycare in place, but he's very open to help. He understands that he's gone through a big transition, has 3 small kids. So this is what this particular part of the court is designed to do, and hopefully we'll be able to accomplish that.
I hope so too, and I don't see why not. I really appreciate the willingness to engage. So, and thank you, Ms. Stout, for your help in speaking to Mr. Tays and advocating for him. So, all right. Well, then, if there is nothing further, I will see you all back on April the 20th. Set today for a permanency review after final order. The department is present, represented today by Ms. Leslie Levi, and joined by Ms. Ryan Balderas with Belong. Ms. Rochelle Acevedo is here as the attorney and guardian ad litem for Zoe, and we have the O'Briens present as well. So thank you all for being here. Let me go ahead. I'm assuming we'll hear from Ms. Balderas first. Can you unmute yourself, ma'am, and raise your right hand?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Valderas, could you state your name for the record?
Ryan Balderas?
And are you the caseworker for the lone child?
Yes.
Can you give the court an update on what is being done to secure permanency?
Yes, so we're in the process of submitting for the adoption subsidy. Back in about November, December, they started the adoptive home study, that's Circles of Care. And so we were just waiting on that. We received it this week. So as soon as I receive the vendor ID from the state office, I'll be able to submit for subsidy. And so we'll be able to proceed with adoption, hopefully within April.
And how is the child doing in the placement?
She is doing very well. She's doing well at daycare. I've stopped in and visited her at home and at daycare. The daycare has no concerns. The foster parents, they're doing well with her. They have no concerns for her either.
Is there anything else that the court needs to know about how Zoe is doing?
No.
I will have to witness.
All right. Ms. Acevedo, do you have questions for Ms. Balderas?
Just a couple, Judge. With regard to finalizing the adoption, what exactly still needs to be done?
Right now, just the vendor ID. We need to receive that from state office. That was submitted, but yesterday we were having an issue with state office receiving our emails from Belong. Once that's done, then we can submit for subsidy negotiation. Then we need to do adoptive placement, and you should be able to set the hearing for adoption after that. But that won't take more than a week or two once the subsidy is done.
Okay, and so you expect to get that state ID like today or tomorrow?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and then is there still an addendum that's needed for the adoptive home study, or that's complete?
No, that's been completed.
Okay. I just want clarification on what exactly. So I guess as far as the timeline, if it's going to take you 2 weeks and placement would like at least a couple of weeks to prepare, so we're talking about a month?
I would say less than a month. It's really just very quick and easy things that can be taken care of within the month.
Okay. And outside of that, everything is set to move forward for this adoption.
Yes, it is.
Okay, I'll pass, Judge.
All right. Well, I guess I can pose my question then to the O'Briens. Have you been able to retain an attorney to assist you with filing the adoption when it's ready to go?
We have an attorney, Brandon Lopez.
Oh, I know him.
He's out of San Antonio, so I don't know if, do we have to physically be present there, or do we? Okay.
No, we can, if you want to do it in this court, we can do it via Zoom if that's your preference.
Okay.
So we can definitely do that. And that's good. That's good to know. We've got that in place. It sounds like everything's coming together. Is there anything else you all want me to know about Zoe leading up to that hearing?
I don't believe so.
She's doing well?
Yeah, she's doing great.
That's great. Well, it sounds like it by all accounts. Ms. Acevedo, is there anything you want to add?
No, Judge. I mean, at this point, it's just a race to the finish line. Everything's, she's doing great. She is adored. She is very bonded to her brothers that are placed there as well. But as far as placements go, I couldn't find a more loving family for her. And I guess as far as the timeline, that's because they're trying to prepare for the big celebration. They want the poster boards and they want the date on it and they want the big day. So we're just trying to narrow down this date to give them all of that. And I'm excited for them. They're really in preparation mode right now.
That's so exciting and so fantastic. I'm really happy for all of you, and especially for Zoe. This is great news that we are so close to being able to finalize this. So based on the testimony the court has heard today, the court is going to continue Zoe's placement, find that continuation of that placement is absolutely in her best interest, and all of her physical, emotional, and developmental needs are being met presently. And then it's in her best interest to remain there as we work towards the permanency goal of adoption. And the court does find that the department through Belong is making reasonable efforts to achieve that permanency goal, and we're incredibly close to realizing it. So whenever the case is ready to go and parties are ready to have the hearing, we're happy to accommodate it at your schedule so that you can have the celebration that Zoe and your family deserve. And we we'll be happy to fit it in to the docket that works best for you. I will say that I'm scheduling a hearing I don't expect that we will need. That hearing is another permanency review after final order for August the 10th at 10:30. Obviously, we expect that adoption to be ready to go well before that date. So, but is there anything else that we need to address while we are together today? If not,
I just sent a picture of her for you to see because it's, I don't know.
Oh, that's wonderful. Who did you send it to so that I can?
I sent it in the chat to you.
Oh, it's in the chat. Okay, let me see if I can see if it comes through because I don't see it yet. Oh, I can't wait to see her.
And yes, she is very bonded to those boys. I mean, we all are, but yeah, we're in love. Yes.
Well, for some reason, I'm not seeing the photo, but
No.
if you can send it to Miss Balderas, I'm sure she would forward it on to us, and I would love to get a sneak peek. I really would. So
Okay.
thank you so much. And I will look forward, as I know you all are, to that adoption hearing. That will be a lot of fun. Oh, here we go. I just got it. Oh, look at her. Oh,
Yes.
That's precious. So that she's all decked for St. Patty's Day there. I guess.
Yes. And yeah, we just had her third birthday celebration, and that was a blast. And we all had matching shirts for her, for that celebration, brother of the,
Yes.
the princess and stuff. So yeah, it was a great one.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. She is beautiful and absolutely precious. And as I said, I'm very excited for you and for her and for all of us to be able to experience that adoption hearing coming up very soon. So thank you for your patience with the process. I know it can be somewhat frustrating at times. It's worth it in the end, I promise. So we'll get there. And so I will look forward to that. And if there's nothing else we need to discuss today, just thanks again, everyone. We'll see you very soon for that adoption hearing. And we are set for a permanency review after final order. The department is present, represented by Ms. Leslie Levi, and joined by both Ms. Tiffany Nahara and Ms. Victoria Gonzalez with Belong. In addition, Ms. Katie Padilla Stout is here as the attorney and guardian ad litem for the children. And I'm assuming, Ms. Gonzalez, you're here to talk about the adoption, correct? I mean, are you in both of you in a position to provide testimony today? Should I swear you both in?
You can, Your Honor. I just recently got the case transferred to me.
And you're the caseworker for the 5 children in this case?
Yes, ma'am. I took over the end of December.
Okay. And what kind of placement are these children in?
Right now you have Veronica, Hazel, Ali Kay, and Brenda in kinship placement with Rita Rahia, and Faith, she is placed with the Jarsky family.
And is the Jarson family a foster placement or kinship placement?
They're a foster.
What's the permanency plan for these children?
Adoption by relative for the 4, and Faith is we're looking at adoption non-relative.
Are all the children's medical and dental and therapeutic needs being met in these placements?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there anything that the court needs to know about how any of them are doing?
All of them are doing very well. They've adjusted very well. And Faith was recently moved to her new placement on the 27th of January and is doing very well there.
And it looks like, are they still in family therapy or has that stopped?
That stopped as of 2/14. Jennifer Dominguez was the family therapist, and she did release them. 1, she was out of area, and 2, after 7 months, Ms. Dominguez had stated that she really wasn't getting anywhere with the therapy for Rita and the other children.
Are they having sibling visits or do they not want them at this time?
They have done virtual visits, and the first visit was cut short. Rita was leaving to go get Hazel, so Hazel wasn't there. And the second visit, I believe it was just Veronica, if I'm correct. For Victoria was the one who did that visit. The other 3 girls did not want to do the visit.
I believe I saw that the oldest girl does not yet have a state issued ID or driver's license. Do you know what's being done to rectify that?
Correct. As of right now, she has not gotten a driver's license. We're looking at possibly changing her last name. She doesn't have her social, and she does have her birth certificate.
So is the thought that that will be easier after the adoption when the name is changed?
Correct.
Okay. Your Honor, I'll pass the witness.
Right, Ms. Stout, do you have questions for Ms. Nagata?
Yes. In regards to Faith, does she have any sibling visits with her sisters as of right now?
The ones that she has are virtual.
Okay, and how often do those take place?
We were trying to do every week, but there's always something that comes up with Rita. Every time we talk to her, I'll say, can we do this day? No, I've got plans. Can we do this day? It's the same thing. So I've put in the virtual visit, trying to get some kind of visit in for the girls.
So when's the last time the girls have been able to have at least a virtual visit?
Yesterday. Yesterday was their last visit.
And how often would you say in the last 3 months they've been able to see each other?
Twice.
Have you talked to the other girls about how they feel about their sister not being adopted with them?
All sound like they're okay with it. Allie Kay stated life is better without Faith. Hazel has also stated she does not want her to return. Hazel also stated whenever this last time that I talked to her about doing a virtual, she said, well, I guess I can give up Thursday. So it doesn't sound too much like she's really wanting to do a visit.
Okay. Do you know if there's any hope for post-adoption contact for the girls with Faith?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Do you know if there's any hope of post-adoptive contact of the girls with Faith?
Yes, ma'am, I do believe so. The foster family that is taking care of her, they have no problem with doing visits or even in-person visits.
And what about Miss Rita?
Miss Rita's the one where we're having issues where something always comes up.
Okay. Have you been contacted, or let me state this, Faith was removed from her prior foster home due to an investigation, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
And
ma'am.
were we able to have the conclusion of that investigation?
I believe they just closed the case without anything behind it.
With no findings?
Yes, ma'am.
And have you asked Faith if she would want to return to that home?
Yes, I did. The last time I saw her in person, and she says she's happy where she's at.
Okay, but the Jarskys are not an adoptive home, is that correct?
No, they are. They are an adoptive home.
Are they willing to adopt her?
They told me that they normally try to go at least 6 months with having the child, but they are open to adopting Faith.
Okay, good to know. And how many children, and when I say children, I mean teens, are currently in the Jarsky home?
With Faith, there's 6.
So it's a lively home, is that correct?
Very lively, yeah.
Okay, and is Faith doing well in school?
She's doing very well. She's an A student.
And is she able to be involved in athletics like she was at her last school?
She was in track.
Wonderful. Okay, no further questions.
Can I ask how Faith is processing the end of the family therapy and what seems to be an end to a potential plan or hope for her to return to the home with Miss Renhel? The last time we were here, I mean, that was the purpose of the therapy, was to try to, you know, bridge the issues that were, you know, and obviously still are there between the siblings and Miss Renhel and Faith. How is Faith processing that?
Faith still loves her sisters and she would love to see them, but she said that if it's best for her to be outside of the home, it's best that she's that way. I've talked to them all about a sister bond and trying to keep some kind of bond going, because later in life they might need each other or want to connect. So I have talked to them about that.
Is Faith She's seeing a therapist on a regular basis.
Yes,
right?
ma'am, she is.
And is that a topic of conversation for therapy? I mean, because it's a big change in potential permanency plan for her.
They do. They talk about her placement and they talk about her staying possibly with them.
But you mentioned that she's happy there and that she wishes to remain there.
Correct.
And then by all accounts, she's successful in school. And I think you even mentioned in the report that she's working.
Yes, ma'am. She's working at Smoothie King.
I love Smoothie King. So I
do too.
Well, that's great. So she's doing well all the way around?
Yes, ma'am. She's
Okay.
a really well-rounded kid. She understands and she's been through a lot, but she's getting through and she's going good with therapy and also.
Okay. So so you're going to continue the efforts to try these visits, but she knows and understands at this point that the likelihood of her returning to that household is diminishing greatly.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Anyone else have any additional questions for Ms. Najera?
No questions, just a report, Your Honor.
All right. Well, can I just ask directly, Ms. Gonzalez, you've been assigned to the case, so I'm assuming you're taking over to try to work towards the adoption of the children by Ms. Renhal. And can you speak to where we are in that process and how long you anticipate that it'll take?
Yes, Your Honor. So I was recently assigned this case. I just met the girls last week. I'm going to meet Faith today. I've not met her yet. But as far as where we're at in the adoptions process, we do have their HES eggs. So that is something that I do have. I just need to write an update to them. I am currently pending the resource ID. And once I get that, I'll be able to start putting together the eligibility packet so we can move forward. I will say I did do the visit yesterday, the virtual visit between Faith and Veronica. It went really well. They were very engaged. I actually had a conversation with all of the girls one-on-one to see if they wanted to have the visit, because I didn't want Faith to get on and then not have any of the girls engaged. Just like Ms. Najera said, she asked Hazel and Hazel's like, well, I guess. And I'm like, no, she doesn't need that. She needs, if they want to have a visit with her, then great. I want them to be engaged. I want her to feel wanted and loved. And those are her sisters. But I'm also not going to force a relationship because that's not fair to Faith. One of the questions that Veronica asked her yesterday, though, was conflicting because she did ask her, do you want to come back? And Faith did say yes. And so I do think that there are some issues that still need to be addressed there. And again, I have not met Faith, so I do not have the rapport or the bond that Ms. Najera has with her at this time, but that is something that I want to look into.
All right. Well, thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. It's good to hear that. Ms. Levi or Ms. Stout, do either of you have questions for Ms. Gonzalez?
No, Your Honor.
Your Honor.
Well, can I hear that report, Ms. Stout?
Yes, Your Honor. I think you have a lot of mother hens on this case that are kind of looking out for the best interest of all the children. And I agree with a lot of what Ms. Gonzalez says, but the mother in me kind of disagrees, right? It's like, you're going to be friends with your sister. You're going to be nice to your sister. You're going to be happy with your sister. You're going to engage with your sister. And I'm really worried. I mean, Rita has offered these children a safe space to go when they needed it, and I don't want to discount that. But there was a personality complex between her and Faith that they just couldn't get on the same page. And it felt like Rita became kind of the black sheep or the scapegoat of that family. And I don't want that mentality to poison the relationship that the girls have, or that the girls are really kind of getting that either consciously or subconsciously from that. I would ask the court to order sibling therapy so at least they can see each other in person. Today with social media, I feel like they'll be able to connect with each other and find each other. And so we don't have that same concern we used to have with adoptees. But it's a long time, and that's a precious bond that they have. And Faith has always wanted to be with her sister. So when you ask her, do you want to come back? That's all about being with her sisters. It's not necessarily about being with Rita. And that really breaks my heart. The Jarskis, I think I disclosed this to the court already. They were former clients of mine. I did a previous adoption for them. They're a great home. They really love kids. They have a heart for kids. That's a great placement. It's a lot with 16s. They do it well, but that is hard. And at the last placement that Faith was at, she was an only child. She was the only child in the entire house. And I did not get a bad vibe from those foster parents. Some of the other workers did. I mean, they were more traditional, yes. They have called me just about every single week and just said, like, can you let her know we still care about her? Can you let her know we love her? We've put this book together. We really, want to be there for her. And, I think that it gave Faith some power to know that she could say no. That's, that may be true, but I just don't feel like that's the right place for me. I think she's found a right placement for her given the circumstance. But it's been a lot of, I think Faith felt rejected from Rita after all of this happened, and then a rejection from her sisters almost. And then she felt like she didn't really fit in with this other foster family, but didn't want to tell any of us. And so once the investigation came down, she was like, well, yeah, I wasn't super comfortable there. We're like, well, you didn't say anything. And she was just like, well, like what choice do I have? Like it was not horrible. It wasn't something that was like rose to the level of abuse, but she just didn't feel comfortable there, And so now I think she's gotten a chance to speak her mind and say what she wants, and she wants to stay there with the Jarskys. I wasn't sure if the Jarskys were going to be open to adopting, because I do know part of their heart is leaving foster spots open for teens, so that they can do that. But I think that they've grown close to her. So hopefully that will work out. It just tears my heart about the sisters, and we have to do what's right for each individual child. And I think that's what we're trying to do. But I think while the department is still involved, if we can maybe have the girls have these visits either away from Rita in person, or to have a therapist to kind of navigate those tricky situations. I just want to give it our best shot before we're out. And maintaining that sibling bond in some form.
Right. All right. Well, I appreciate that insight, Ms. Stout, and I share your views. And obviously, the questions I asked, I think, I'm troubled by what I see as scapegoating too, and we need to work around that. So let me say this. Based on the testimony the court has heard today, the court is going to continue the respective placements of each of the children. The court finds that their needs are being met in their individual placements, and that it's in their best interest to remain where they are. And the court is going to find that the department, as the managing conservator through Belong, is making reasonable efforts to achieve permanency for each of these girls. I think we gave it our best effort with the therapy to try to bridge and resolve the issues between Faith and Miss Rangel and the children. And if after 7 months we've made like zero progress and headway with that, I think we have to acknowledge that there's not a great likelihood that Faith will return to that home, and that there's no need to delay permanency for the other siblings. If they're comfortable, that's where they've been. We need to move forward for their benefit. But as Ms. Stout indicated, I agree 100% that while we have the children in all of them in the department's care and with this court's oversight, that they need to be having visits, and they need to be in person. Ms. Rangel does not need to be a part of these visits anymore. If that is the issue, if she's the obstacle for this sibling relationship, the visit should be for the children themselves. We're not looking at reunifying Faith with Miss Rangel. These are sibling visits, and they're not for her. So I hope that that will help address and ensure the strengthening of their relationship. And as you pointed out, they're at an age now where they will be able to continue a relationship despite Miss Rangel's I see it being possible. So that's what I'd like. I mean, I grant that the virtual visits is something you've been doing to kind of just insist that we move forward. And if we've got to do that, but I think in-person visits away from Miss Rangel are also, a necessary task that we should pursue while we have this opportunity. We are going to come back for our next permanency review after final order on August the 10th at 11. Is it the preference? I know that there's a Rule 11 on file. Do you continue to wish these proceedings to continue via Zoom? All right, I will record that agreement, and that hearing on August the 10th at 11 will be via Zoom as well. Is there anything else that this court can order that you think will help Faith and the siblings at this time? No. All right. Well, thank you all. I really appreciate it. And if there's nothing further, all parties are excused.
Thank you. Y'all have a good day.